Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where in the world you're joining us from. And welcome to Stay22 Unpacked, the $1 billion blueprint for travel content success. Thank you for joining us on Travel Massive. I'd love to know where in the world you're joining us from, so please do drop that in the comments. It would also be great to understand whether you're a content creator, whether you're a publisher, or whether today you're here representing a tourist board or a travel brand. It's really helpful to know who's in the mix, and it helps us to tailor the conversation and session towards who we have in the audience. And there are more than 300 of you registered today. For those of you beyond the UK Travel Massive community, my name's Matthew Gardiner. I'm your host today, and I'm also the director of Travel Massive London. I started my career working for a luxury tour operator before gaining experience in hotel and leisure brands and in travel recruitment before I spent more than 6 years inside International Airlines Group, owner of British Airways and Iberia, where I led global marketing and communications for the group's cargo business. Since then, my career has progressed into a more advisory capacity, working with travel brands, tourist boards, travel technology companies on growth, brand positioning, and go-to-market strategy. Today on this webinar, I'm also joined and supported in the background by Katarina, who is our chapter leader for Toronto. Toronto being one of our key and largest chapters within the community. So yeah, she's kindly supporting us with everything behind the scenes, and we are currently streaming not just on Travel Massive, but across Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn as well. If you create travel content, whether you're a creator, a publisher, a travel brand, the last couple of years have been quite the roller coaster. Traffic patterns are shifting, AI content is flooding the internet, and Google updates are keeping us all on our toes. And yet, 5,000 creators have generated more than $1 billion of travel bookings via Stay22 in just 2025 alone. So clearly, something is working. The big question is what? And, diving into Stay22's affiliate trends report today, we're going to unpack exactly that. We'll explore what's actually driving travel content revenue right now, which destinations are trending, which ones are in most demand, and which cities are converting the best, and why some types of content are suddenly outperforming all others. To help us decode the Stay22 data, we have someone with a really unique perspective. She's the founder of Fuse Travel. She's a content creator focused on Italy. And she's also a partnership manager at Stay22, working with thousands of content creators and publishers to understand what's really converting. So I'm delighted today to welcome Fuse Reese to this Travel Massive webinar. Welcome,
Yay.
Fuse. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much, guys. My name is Fusa, but everyone calls me Fuse. So Fuse Travels it is. And I'm very happy to be here today and excited because with my background in optimization and marketing, I love strategy, and I love helping others earn more. So
it's very exciting to have you here, Fuse. Before we get into the numbers and into the report, I'd love to start with your story. You're in a pretty unique position, as I've already said. You're a creator on one hand, but you're also partnership manager for Stay22. You divide your life between Italy and Florida. How did all that come together? I'm going to ask you lots of questions here in one. How did travel content become your world? How did you end up working for Stay22? And what does life look like for you between those, two very different locations?
Amazing. So Matthew, we didn't know this, but today actually marks my 4-year anniversary of my first TikTok for Fuse Travels that went viral. So before, I used to have a local South Florida blog. And then we scheduled our trip to take our kids finally to Italy, because we would go all the time, but we wouldn't take them. And exactly 4 years ago, and it was post-pandemic, travel still, or like opening up. And I just got the memory today that 4 years ago was the first time I actually did anything under Fuse Travel. So this is just so exciting, because I had no idea that, number one, I would be working for a company in the travel tech space. Number two, that I would buy a house in Italy in the process that I am now, and start this nomadic, I call it hybrid living approach. So much has changed. But 3 years ago, I attended my first travel conference, actually my second one, but abroad in Spain, and it was with T-Bex. And I really didn't know anything about affiliate. Like, I knew about Amazon, but it always felt really overwhelming. Like, it felt like just so complicated. And the folks at Stay22 at the time, they were so nice and kind, and it was just easy. And my blog was like tiny, like 100 visitors a month, So it's funny, when they interviewed me, they're like, "Why are you coming over to this side?" I was like, "Have you seen my blog traffic? Very small." So I met them, we connected, I became good friends with them. And then I saw a role that opened up, and I was like, wouldn't that be interesting? Because I love this stuff. I love helping and empowering others to earn more money. So then I decided to go work full time for them. And I'm at a unique position because I have a blog, and I can show my dashboard. I can show my back end. I could do demos because I'm the guinea pig for this. So, and I think Stay22 kind of likes that too, to be honest.
Thank you, and congratulations on your 4-year anniversary then.
Thank you.
You talked about there being a lot of changes in that time. If let's look at that 4 years then. What has changed the most about the travel creator economy, in those 4 years since that first viral video you had?
Yeah. So, I think there's two aspects here. One is the social media. I feel like it has changed, right? It went more to the short form videos. And when I used to look at travel, as far as just social media, it was very specific look of a person. I call it the blonde in the flowy dress and Petra, right? That was like many years ago. And then I saw this mix of diversity, like Jen on a jet plane, and other people just started becoming a little bit more diverse. So the social media part is still, we're all still trying to figure out algorithms, right? That changes daily. Yeah. But let's analyze on the blog part, right? It's the Google updates. So the Google updates, really started, I think, 2.5 years ago, and then it just kept going.
Yeah.
And then it just kept going. And then we got to a point where so many bloggers, they got so discouraged. They were so down about this, but it was nice to see those that were like, okay, this shows us we cannot have all our eggs in one basket. So I have a little email going out right now that says the travel creator word of the year is diversification. Yeah. But as we'll talk in our conversation later on, there's definitely a much smarter way to diversify than I'm seeing a lot of creators do.
Sensible, regardless of what business you're in.
Yes.
Jumping into the report itself, the headline stat from the report is huge. $1 billion in bookings generated by creators, via Stay22 in 2025. When you look at the data behind that number, I'd love to start with, what surprised you most?
I really love that Italy was #1 country because of my content.
Didn't surprise you.
It did surprise that it was the #1 spot, but what we're seeing in the trends is the smaller cities are becoming more popular. So we're seeing people wanting to go more experience. So it's not Rome and Florence, it's Sicily, it's Puglia, it's Calabria. So we're starting to see that, it's not Paris, it's Lyon, it's Nice. So I think that is really cool to see. And I think it's because over tourism, I think it's the types of travel we've been seeing in the last couple of years has been more experience travel, sports travel, regardless of the World Cup. Golf, people are traveling for pickleball, people are traveling for retreats and experiences. And I think that is very aligned with what the report shows us in these other cities. Now, the URL structure is a big one. I kind of knew this from a mini report we had done we kind of analyzed this in 2024. but it was a smaller subset of segmentation that we did. And we did see that Where to Stay is the number one converting permalink.
Yeah.
But this year with $1 billion, right? Or 2025 with one, that we had just way more data to get more intrinsic and see the other URL structures, which is really insightful for when people are working on their strategies for their articles, for new articles, et cetera. So those are the things that kind of stand out for me as a creator, and even as a partnerships manager, and how I could best guide like new partners as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, there's a big gap, isn't there, between inspiration and transaction? And so
Yes.
from the data you see, and you hinted on some of it there, what's actually nudging someone from dreaming about a trip to, to booking a place to stay?
Sure. I don't think it's the nudge. It's the capturing the intent. And I think the older blogging days, we were so focused on SEO and traffic that we created a lot of content based on inspiration. Is Sicily worth visiting? Now though, what we're seeing though is when you're way more strategic with your content, then you are getting to those people sooner. There's a report, I believe Expedia says that an average traveler visits about 60 pages before really committing. 40 of those pages are OTAs. So what I love about Stay22's technology, specifically that part of Nova, we like to capture people's intent. We almost like to think it's almost like, when you go grocery shopping, and I don't know if you guys have similar stores like Home Goods or TJ Maxx, there's always this temptation when you're at the checkout line, there's more things. So I feel like Nova does a more excellent job as far as capturing that intent. So it's not about like, oh, hey, how can people be inspired in my article and actually convert? It's how can I have more articles that are strategically with the intent. So I'll give you an example. I have a post that is called, Is Sicily Safe? It's my number one ranking post. It's the number one that I have, like as far as conversions because of the traffic. But when I compare to other things, I just did Is Palermo Safe one, and that's getting even better traction. When I look at just certain data as far as my other stuff, Where to Stay in Palermo, that's going to give me a higher converting average booking. So in that respect is I don't need 1,000 people to visit, let's say, Where to Stay in Palermo. I can have 40 people that are actually in that journey, more of planning with the higher intent of actually going, and 20 of them book. I'm fine, because first of all, those hotels can't handle 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And
Yeah,
I'm happy to get more in depth.
Based on what you're saying, then, is intent the new currency for travel creators? In other words, content that helps someone make a decision, is performing better from an affiliate revenue stance than that sort of pure inspiration piece.
Exactly. So it's about like learning how can we write those articles that I think we need to leave the inspiration for social media is another good to look at. But when we're talking about blogging and conversion, we're not in those days where our blogs are that diary that we have fans coming. It's not a newsletter. It's not a diary. You really have to treat it with strategy. This doesn't mean you're not going to write from your heart and you're not going to write like, I was talking to Kimberly today, for example, she was talking about Morocco doing Ramadan, and you're still going to write those things that matter to you and interesting things for people to know, but having those articles that are really like Where to Stay, the things to do, then you're really going to capture the person in that stage, and you're going to have less competition as well.
So to go further into that, then, in terms of winning formats, you're talking about sort of the Where to Stay being that winning format. What other content types are outperforming others? And I guess, why do you think those formats are converting so well?
I think it's because the person looking for that is going to find your content easily. That's exactly what they're looking for. And it's almost like really answering the query faster. So like, yes, has AI overview taken a lot of our traffic? I've just recently lost 60% of my traffic. but I'm still earning money anyway. But when we are also focusing on answering that query. So for example, there's these partners from Spain. They do a really good job with car rentals, kind of become their thing. So they do a lot of like renting a car. And so instead of like doing a article, just renting a car in Italy, renting a car in whatever airport and just getting more specific. So I think when that user is going online and in different places to find that content, they're finding it because not everyone is like doing that. So that means you're also going to become easier to find. And even if you're not easier to find, the people that do find you, that's exactly what they want. So they're more likely to convert.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for the AI engines as well, that level of specificity is really important. People aren't searching. Yeah, people are being very specific. I am going to Italy for 4 nights.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in the report here, the other URLs that did well is like 3 days in, and then the itinerary ones too. So if you guys look, I know we're going to have a QR code for the report. So it's interesting to see those because those you could capture. We're mostly talking about accommodations because accommodations is what earns a lot, higher like average booking. And then another strategy that I think we're going to talk about in the other questions is how to use page analytics and data to see your earnings per click and which one has a higher earnings per click. So you could focus more on those topics or destinations that are going to raise your average booking value.
Thank you, Fuse. The other thing that you touched on right at the beginning, which is really interesting in the report, is it reports some fascinating demand patterns. Which destinations are seeing the biggest surge in interest right now?
I think, well, Asia is definitely like a destination that we were seeing: Bali, Thailand, and the Philippines. So we definitely see, so even though Europe is really strong, we see that, but we see that in Asia, that's also like, as far as where the bookings are happening. And our forecast for this year is it's going to be really interesting in 2027 when we do this report again for more money even, to see where Asia is going to land. So specifically Bali, Thailand, and Philippines.
Super. I'm actually going to ask the audience that question as well. I mean, I'd love people to drop in the chat where, destinations that they're seeing a lot of interest right now, from your own blogs, what content is suddenly surging ahead? Please do drop that in the chat as well. I can see in the chat that we've got people joining us from Bulgaria, Montenegro.
Yes.
Again, please do say hi in the chat. Let us know where in the world you're listening to us from, and who you're here representing today.
I forgot to say, sorry, Matthew,
yes,
Japan too. I missed Japan, also big rise. And I think, like I said, the sports travel and this different experience travel has been really interesting, where it seems people are also going for longer stays versus shorter stays in the past. I think people really want to unplug and like reset. So that's, I feel like, another pattern that it has stayed with us, very like post-pandemic kind of pattern for sure.
No, I mean, it's a huge trend, isn't it? How, events, be that sports, be that music, are driving traffic.
One more, sorry, because I just remembered the eclipse, the solar eclipse. So I was in Louisiana a couple of years ago, and they were like, the town in Kansas City was already booked out for the whatever solar eclipse that's coming. And I have friends here in Sicily that they want to go over, is it Tunisia? And it's hard, like things are getting booked out. So that's been really interesting. So wherever that full blackout solar eclipse is going, if you guys been there, update your articles to talk about it and where people can stay for the eclipse. There's an article idea right there.
Super, thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess the other natural question though is, is there a notable difference between popular destinations in terms of what people are reading about and what people are viewing, and the high converting destinations? It'd be great to get your view on that and to hear what cities are converting particularly well right now.
Yes. So for that, if there are any Stay22 partners already here, maybe they haven't done this, but the page analytics tool is a gold mine. So I created a prompt with Claude Cowork, for example. And for me, I'm looking at, okay, I cover Italy so much and that converts well, but what else? So I saw the Costa Brava in Spain. I think it has to do obviously with the location. We know the Algarve, Dodo Valley, right? Versus like, maybe a city, maybe Bangkok. Like we know also the average value in certain destinations versus South America. Those are going to be higher as well. So if your blog focuses a lot of, lower budget, hiking adventurous is very different than somebody who's featuring more resort or even luxury. So those things matter. But what I had not realized until I really looked at my data was, I really should be looking at which destinations have a higher earning per click and focus more on that, because then that could help fund my travels for the other destinations I want to go to. So I would love actually if Katerina can show that screenshot I had sent you, just so you guys visually can show. So this is and sorry, sometimes I talk too fast. I know there's a little delay, guys. So if you're catching up, apologize. I just get excited. So this content strategy, it says SEO, but for me, it's more CRO, which conversion rate optimization strategy, than it is an SEO strategy. So basically what I did is I took a year's full of data. So my 2025, from the page analytics dashboard in Stay22, it shows this earnings per click. And I could see, like, is Sicily safe? Yes, I've made the most. But like, the average, when I look at further things, I can see like where to stay in Dodo Valley was like a dollar something versus 6 cents versus 25 cents. So that gives me insight like, oh, let's expand this market. Let's write about like, okay, not only where to stay, things to do, or wine tours if I want to focus on, conversion for activities, etc. So this thing is actually a very long file. And what I like about Claude Cowork is, so I took Stay22 data and Claude Cowork. It's visual, because before I used to do this in ChatGPT and it was just like a note, right? And I wouldn't do anything about it. So now I could look at the data and say, okay, what worked last April? Like, what were people booking last March? What do I need to be doing this April? And then it's given me like articles to update, new articles to do, and just very insightful. So this helps me kind of step back and not just keep doing, the destinations that I think are going to convert, but it gives me the true input as far as, okay, this is tier where the bookings are higher. And for me, I have a lot of New Year's Eve content from Europe, because when I started, it was more Europe focused. And those are always higher because New Year's Eve packages are higher as well. So time of year, we're going to see different things depending on your blog too, right?
Thank you, Fuse. So I'm just looking at some of the other hellos that we've got coming in as well. Earlier, you mentioned the growth of pickleball. It was hard for me not to ask you about pickleball and just to let that one keep going. But now we've got a Ray from Fort Myers saying hello, and Fort Myers, has to be the pickleball capital of the world. So thank you for joining us from, fellow Florida residents there. Let's touch a bit more, Fuse, on monetization mistakes. From the thousands of content creators that you work with, what's the most common mistake that you see?
Two common mistakes. The number one is, this is kind of a basics, but sometimes I feel like we need to refresh on the basics. Does that make sense? The number one is not having the links clear enough that it's a link, and not having it sooner in your article. So one thing that I've started doing is this too long to read box. So I first saw it with Nikki. She's safe, she travels. And if you go to Fuse Travels, you'll also see it. I created a usable block. And with Stay22, anytime I use just a plain link, our AI will check the the destination, and it won't take them to Expedia.com, but it'll take them to Expedia.com Rome, whatever my destination is. So that increases the conversion. So in the beginning of my articles, I usually have, find your tickets, buy your eSIM, whatever you want to say, the TLDR. Hold on, sorry. So that is helpful. And you want to make sure that your link is a different color, that it's obvious. Sometimes I'll do check availability instead of just highlighting the hotel name. So at the end of the day, people really need to be told what to do. I remember years ago when I was fascinated by e-commerce conversion, the whole just saying add to cart increases the conversion by a lot. So it's like you really need to spell it out for people. So number one, mistake is that. Number two mistake is something I'm calling it. I came up with this. Something I'm calling, how do I say this? Sorry. High effort, low impact. And it should be the opposite. I think we should be working on things that have high impact and low effort. I'm all about working less, earning more, because this is a lifestyle that we want. We don't want to be a slave to our computers. This is why I'm in Sicily, where, they don't believe in actual schedules or time, which is hard, not hard, but I just got here. But like, once the whole like Google update started and a lot of people just started getting mad and negative and I'm going to sell my blog and Google hates me, all that jazz, you need to really like look at it and think like what else like can be done. Yes. And then what did I see? I'm going to take my glasses off. I saw everyone going back to Pinterest, going to YouTube, going to Facebook groups. Now, these are not bad things, but my question to you is it working out? Because I see some people spending so much time on Pinterest, and Pinterest is going through this weird thing right now. And we're seeing this. A lot of AI ads is really ruining the experience. So I think you need to analyze, okay, if I'm spending, 10 hours a month on Pinterest, but it's not converting, right? Like, or it's not even enough for my RPM uplift if ads, if you monetize a lot via ads, like, is it worth it? Is that high effort having high impact, right? Because for you, it might be like the high effort is okay, but what about the impact? Like, or is, YouTube is a whole other beast, which I like it. It's just a longer path. And, so I think what it is, honestly, Matthew, can I be really frank? I think we need to stop going after trends and having FOMO. Because just because everyone's doing Substack doesn't mean you need to do Substack, because I don't know, is your audience on Substack, or do you teach other creators, or your regular travelers? Maybe they're on Facebook, maybe they're older travelers like me. So I think it's really easy to have shiny ball syndrome. Believe me, I'm a recovering shiny ball syndrome person myself. But you really need to be like, okay, does this make sense for my business? Do I enjoy this, or can I outsource this? Because I see some people just like posting, do this, and then like, I'm like, are you getting results? And that's why I like things to be easy. That's also, as a user, that's why I love Stay22, because it's capturing this leftover intent. And then, there's these other things like our magic link, where every time I use a link, without a hotel, it takes them to the destination, and it chooses which supplier will convert more. Because I think I'm going to add this as a third mistake. Creators love using a certain supplier, and they think regular travelers use them. But suppliers also have different cookie lengths. So I think diversifying your supplier list is also important.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And to take you back to your first point, obviously, about not having clear links as being, mistake number one. I'm correct in saying, actually, one of the great things about Stay22 software is it inserts links into content for the creator automatically.
There is a feature that is called Spark. Spark, I think, works really well with people who have pivoted. So let's say you had a blog for a long time and you were maybe a lifestyle fashion mommy blogger, and now you're adding a bunch of travel stuff. So Spark can add links for you where it sees opportunities by highlighting existing text. So let's say I've had like 10 articles up, and I've mentioned hotels, but I didn't know about affiliate, but I didn't, or I whatchamacallit, linked directly to the hotel. So I need that help with or time for my link strategy because I don't really have links. That's really where Spark works well. Now, a lot of bloggers that have been in it for a long time, they probably already have a lot of those links. So, but it is a really cool feature. And the cool thing is you could test out, and those links are dynamic. They actually change by user. It's like magical. So it's not that we're adding links to your back end or anything like that. And not all users will see those links.
Mm.
So, but don't ask me how that works. That's the AI stuff there. I don't know that technical stuff.
Super, thank you. We've had Will Tang has asked a question here about you were obviously talking about the importance of analytics earlier. Where can users find the analytics page in the dashboard?
Sure, it's called so that thing I showed you, y'all. If you guys are not using Claude Cowork, blowing my mind. First of all, it renames image files for you if you come back from like a trip. It is game changer. So what I did was, so in your Stay22 dashboard, there's an area called page analytics. And then there I put all time. Actually, I did just 2025 for that whole year, but it did, as you saw in the report, it went up to February. So you could do the whole time. Now you really need, at least in my opinion, 3 months of data, because or else it's just not enough. And I love that I have a year because then I could see the patterns for this year. So I downloaded that, I think it's CSV file or Excel file, and I uploaded to Claude Cowork. I do have a prompt, Matthew. I could send it to you after, and I'm happy to share maybe in the email in the replay. And that is Claude Cowork created that visual thing, and it's long. I only showed you guys a little bit. So it analyzed all my data. It told me quick wins. It gave me interlinking ideas. It said like what I need to be working on in March and April. And I love it because I'm very visual. Like it's almost really like having this, the strategist being like, okay, this is what you need to be doing this month. And I need that.
Super. Thank you for all the takeaways. Very shortly, I am going to move on to some more audience questions. So, please keep putting those questions into the chat from whatever platform that you're watching on. Before I do turn to the audience, though, for more questions, we have to talk a little bit about AI. How do you think AI is going to reshape travel content? And perhaps most importantly, where do creators still have a huge advantage?
That's a great question. I mean, nothing beats the personal experience. So what we've seen from the Google updates, and one thing that Google has asked is the personal experience. So for example, with my content, Cicely's doing well also because I've been coming here now, I'm buying this house. So it's funny, in certain posts that have nothing to do with that city, I'm like, well, I'm buying a house in Sicily. I haven't been to this place in May, but I'm going this May. I think the personal experience and being strategic like this, I still think that is our strength, honestly. And there's been other reports that show that like AI hasn't done like a very good job in trip planning. And I think it's not going to go anywhere. Okay, guys, let me just tell you, it's not going to go anywhere. I am testing something out where I'm creating my own agent and I'm adding all my affiliate links on it. So more to come on that. It's too soon for me to share, but basically I'm creating my own agent since I am Italy specialist to input all my information, all my links. And when people come there, if they need help 3 days in Rome, my links will pop up automatically. So I think we can't run away from what's happening, right? It's like this big wave that's coming. We need to ride this wave and we need to be creative. But there's reports that show that people are not loving the AI stuff like for trip planning. So, we'll see.
It is definitely compressing the funnel though, somewhat.
Yes.
Yeah. this morning, this afternoon, you shared so many valuable takeaways, given us lots of insights from your own blog and obviously from your experience working with thousands of creators at Stay22. I'd love to hear from the audience about any insights today that have particularly surprised them. But I'm going to go to a few more audience questions now. We've got let me read the question. Are there Stay22 features that work on YouTube? That's my main platform.
Yes. So, and I love it. So the YouTube feature right now, what it does is it was first a beta thing, and I don't know if you have to request access already. I have it. But basically it analyzes videos up to 45 minutes. It'll analyze your channel, analyzes videos for up to 45 minutes. It will look for in the video if you showcase any hotels and activities, and it will automatically populate a description with your links for you to copy. Now, so it's not 100% automatic, but it does 75% of the job. So essentially you can download this Excel file or PDF thing with all of that, and the wording for the descriptions is totally up to you. So was it Latoya that asked for that? Definitely email me, fuse@stay22, and I can make sure that you have access. Now, it is limited as far as only up to 45 minutes. And it is, if you have videos that you really haven't talked about, accommodating or mentioned, there is this, like I said, this cool technology that is not only about what you're speaking, actually could see certain things, but I've seen it other people that talk more about miles and points, for example, where it didn't pick up anything that they were really showcasing for that. So it really depends on the content as well.
Thank you, Fuse. I'm just waiting for some more questions to come in from the audience. Obviously, anyone listening, a great opportunity now to ask Fuse anything at all whilst you are there. We've got another one popping in here.
There was a question earlier about luxury focus.
There's a few popping in quickly now. Sorry, was there the one you'd seen, Fuse, that you wanted to tackle first?
Yeah, so luxury focused travel brand, how can we balance affiliate driven content like where to stay with maintaining brand authority and attracting high ticket direct clients? Now, I believe the person who asked this, I don't know if I just don't understand the part of attracting high ticket direct clients. I don't know if maybe they're also a travel agent. I wasn't sure on that piece, but I think the balance comes from, again, how can I create articles that are high intent, still going to talk about my experience, still going to talk about my thing, and going to create other articles that's further going to support that high intent article, right? So I think we really need to put our strategy hat on, because this is a business, and like if it's a hobby or side thing, I think a lot of us do this because we want to travel more. In order to travel more, we need more of those funds in order to keep doing what we love. And, of course, this is going to be very personal to each person. Even when I said like the Pinterest, Facebook, that there are exceptions, and even Substack, maybe you're actually doing great with that. I was just saying, don't get easily distracted, and make sure that that's actually converting and working for you. So it could be like, leave more of the brand authority for social media to drive the traffic to, the blog, for example, or your newsletter if you own a newsletter. So right now, for example, one thing I'm doing, I was having a hard time, I'll be completely honest, because TikTok used to be so good for me and now it's not. And I'm like, how do I share this whole buying a house, renovation? I applied for the nomad visa, I got approved. And I was like, I'm gonna do it in my newsletter. I haven't been emailing these people. So instead of like where to stay in Rome in my newsletter, if you want the behind the scenes, and that's how I plan to grow the newsletter, because newsletter, remember, is something you own. I hope that was helpful.
Thank you, Fuse. There's all of a sudden, when I'm under pressure to be wrapping us up, lots of questions are coming in. So a few quick fire ones to you from the audience. Is there a way of putting accommodation affiliate links into a PDF?
Yes. So we have and we have a QR code. So, one hot tip for the YouTubers, please, please, please. A lot of your audience is watching, they're watching your videos on smart devices like iPad and TV. So in Stay22, we have, anytime you need a link outside of your blog, because on your website blog, it's our script, will do the campaign IDs for you and a bunch of things. Anytime you need it outside of your blog, there's something called the LA generator. This is for you to use links for when you travel, friends and family, even though my friends and family do not use my links, but that's a whole other topic. And for YouTube and PDFs and email newsletter. The cool thing is there's a QR code. And I have a theory, Matthew, people are very nosy. So whenever they see a QR code, they think it's a contest. They think, and then I try to use for YouTube at least more Expedia and hotels.com because they have a longer cookie. So if that person just clicked on that, but then 4 days later, they got to go to Vegas for work, I'll still get commission.
Super. Any reason at all why a tours activity business couldn't work directly with Stay22?
You mean as a supplier? We are growing. We have a whole supply team. So as far as suppliers, I don't see a single operator being able to apply to become a supplier. But what I've seen, so for example, let's say you're a tour operator, but you want to earn money when you recommend where to stay. Right? Maybe you're just helping them with the tour part. You could still earn money on like where to stay. Or if you are a part of a bigger operating thing, then that would be more the like applying to be a supplier.
Sorry, I'm scanning all the different platforms here. Lots of questions coming in now. I think I'm kind of probably have to say it's a case of what's the best way of getting in touch with you if you've posted today's webinar.
Well, follow me, Fuse Travels. But I see a few more questions here. Follow me, Fuse Travels. As far as Fuse Travels is the more personal. I love geeking out on optimization stuff. If you guys haven't noticed, definitely follow me there. And then Fusa at State. If Katarina could just write my email if it's more product related or anything like that. I see a few more questions. Do you want me to read some, Matthew, or do you want?
Do you know what? Pick one, and then I think we'll probably have to move to a close. But there's a lot of very varied questions there, from content pillars to what's coming for Instagram.
Yes. So Instagram, we know social selling is a big thing on our list. So we are growing. The company has grown a lot. I think I was employee number 30. We're at 110 now. So we have a whole social squad, Sumya. So right now, not yet. But if the agent I'm building, to be honest, works, there's an Instagram version for it. So that there may be something there. With the content pillars, I actually love that question because that was an area that and let me read the question. Hold on, let me see. Can you talk a little bit more, James, here, how you organize your content pillars? Do you have overview of a city that leads into the high intent where to stay? I love this question because actually this was a weak spot for me. And now this visual guide, it showed me my hub and where I was missing. So right now, my goal for this year is getting more authority on that. So I was shocked. Like I published the Palermo Safe one 6 weeks ago, and like 90% of my bookings have come from that article after I started working on this strategy. So I'm seeing like the gaps, and I'm using the page analytics stuff to tell me where I'm missing. As far as I don't really have that like hub, like let's say let's use Palermo for, like I have, is Palermo safe? I have, is Sicily safe? I have where to stay in Palermo, what to do in Palermo, but I'm still getting into more of what's going to help me bring more traffic and build more authority for this destination. And my prompt, y'all, which we'll be sending, can help you with that as well.
Thank you, Fusa. And thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing so many insights and so many takeaways. I also want to thank Katarina again for supporting us behind the scenes with the production of today's webinar. And thank you, of course, to all of you who have joined us from all over the world. If you found this session valuable, I really, really do recommend digging into the Stay22 Affiliates Trends Report. We have touched on only a tiny bit of there, and it is jammed full with really interesting and fascinating data, and data which will help people monetize on their content further. Katrina, can we bring up on screen talking of QR codes? I think we've got a QR code if people want to download that report.
Yes. Oh my God, I forgot.
There we go.
All right. Oh, and we have a special. I forgot to.
Oh, yes. And we will move to the special as well. Let's just give everyone a bit more of a chance to scan that QR code. Super. Thank you, Katerina. And then can we bring up the special, which Fuse, I'm sure you want to talk everybody through.
Yes. Okay. So if there's anybody here that is not using Stay22, we're doing something really cool for Travel Massive audience only. So if you sign up, if you're brand new people only, don't get mad, current partners. But we do have a wonderful referral program. So if you sign up and if you're brand new, our usual referral program, when you are referred by someone, you usually get $100 once you reach 100 bookings, but we created something special to double that. So you would get $200 automatically deposited into your account once you get to 100 bookings. And for the current partners, the program is wonderful. You get $500 if you refer anybody. So share away.
Thank you very much. And to all of you watching again, one more time, thank you again for joining us. And we hope to see you on another Travel Massive webinar in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.